Okay. Looks like we're finally working to me. Man, computer was like, I ain't gonna connect to that darn internet. And but we made it. We made it. After some reboots and some restarts. We got there. So what are we up to today? Well, we're going to paint some little alien boys. So I showed these off on my after Christmas stream. Um, like getting them. Unboxing, I guess is the word. So I showed them off on that, and I figured I would paint a couple of them up. Actually, we're going to paint all of them up today because they're really easy to paint. And I'm really happy with the end result. So you can kind of see they have the kind of this like silvery blue kind of tinge. I'm quite happy with how they're coming out. And it's super duper easy to get a really nice result. So quite happy with that. So we're going to do a couple of them up today. Like I said, yeah, we're actually just going to do them all because they're really easy. So, and we're going to do two different styles. I use a similar painting technique for my spires for Conquest, these guys. But you can see the silver is kind of more bright here. It stands out a little more. It's a little more shiny. And I think it's just a little bit too much. So I really love how these look. I love my spires. I think they look amazing. But I think it's a little bit too much for actual xenomorphs. So we're going to stay with the blue, and then we're also going to do a brown. So in Alien, the big chap alien, the like main one, is pretty much like pure black. With different texture differences, which makes it look a little glossy, which kind of gives it a silver sheen in some areas. When you get into Aliens, they actually have a slight blue tinge to them. And then for Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, the aliens actually have like a brown tinge. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint some like these guys here, so I can show you guys how these are done. And then we're going to paint some with a brown tinge like they're from Alien 3 or Alien Resurrection. So first off, step number one, because it's kind of rainy again here in Hawaii, and it's going to be cold, and the paint's going to take a while to dry. What we're going to do is we're going to work in steps again. So we're going to get our base coat down, and then we are going to let that dry, and then we're going to do our next step, and then let it dry, and then we're going to do a next step like that. And in between those different steps, we're going to go ahead and we're going to check out some battletech stuff, which is pretty fun. So this is coal black from Pro Acryl. Just a wonderful black color, right? These guys, they come in black plastic, but I also prime them black just because you want some primer on there so that your paint will have a tooth to it. And then we're just going to hit them with this to make sure there's good coverage. I am very much in the camp of priming is for tooth, priming is not for coloring really. So I will usually, as lightly as possible, prime things. And then that gives me quite a bit of tooth to things, but doesn't really cover all the color. So it means that I just have to kind of hit the color that I want. So this is just coal black, like I said. Any super dark black will do. The other blue ones that I showed off previously, they actually were done with dark neutral gray instead, just a little bit lighter of a black, and we'll get to compare the differences. I think the dark black is going to look a little nicer, the darker black, but we'll see. The gray tinge to those I think is really neat because it kind of mimics the shininess of the xenomorph under like the lights and stuff of the ships. Now these aliens, they are not the big chap from Alien, and they're not the dog runner from Aliens 3. They're very exclusively designed to look like the aliens from Aliens. So the hive kind of troopers from that. And you can see because the head design is actually different. So they have kind of this scalloped back head design here versus the translucent skull that the original alien had. And they're definitely not quadrupeds like from the dog alien from Alien 3. So this design would keep going, this aliens design, and be very popular in a lot of the different media. Um, it's kind of like the quintessential generic alien, which is nice. It's kind of like a less complicated version of the big chap design. I kind of like in my brain I think of them as like the mass-produced aliens, like design. That's kind of what this design is. So yeah, but they're doing this paint super light, but still it's going to take a little bit to dry. So um, one of the things that if you were going to play this board game, like I'm going to use these for one-page rolls and stuff, but if you were going to play this board game, what you could do is you could paint the special characters one way because there are 4 special characters, and then there's 8 in this box of regular aliens. Um, so you could do 4 one way and 4 the other way, or I mean, you could do the 4 special characters one way and the 8 others the other way. And that way you would have some easily spotting them out. Although honestly, the special characters are in very unique poses, so they kind of stand out. Everyone except for the warrior. The warrior kind of looks like the other ones. But yeah, these like I said, I'm pretty sure these are from Archon Studios, and they're really nice. Archon just does great work for everything they print. There's really not a product that I've gotten from them that I've been like, man, this sucks, right? Like everything they print is just wonderful. Goes together really nice. Like just usually tons and tons of detail. Very good quality plastic. Like just wonderful. The Dungeons and Laser stuff I've done from them. The He-Man stuff I've done from them. These aliens. I just cannot sing their praises enough. I don't know if any of the Mantic stuff I have is from them, but if it was, I'm sure it's very good. Oh, and Conquest. They also print all the Conquest stuff, so. And Conquest is just wonderful. I actually have some Conquest stuff to paint up, actually. And they get almost a very identical kind of painting pattern to these guys. So I not this Black Friday, last Black Friday, I got in one of the starter boxes, really cheap on my mini factory. Um, so I decided, I don't know, I was kind of in conquest mode, and then I was gonna put them together. So I went ahead, I put them all together. Yeah, now I just gotta get them painted up. But they paint up very similarly because these aliens they actually have essentially like 3 steps. These conquest guys are very similar, except they have more details because they're wearing clothes and carrying weapons and stuff, so they get some extra steps, but than the aliens do. But very similar overall steps. So when we go through the aliens 3 steps, we'll comment on that, and I'll talk about the differences. Because I've painted these conquest guys on the channel before. They've been, gosh, probably like 2+ years ago now. I painted a whole bunch of these. But yeah, conquest is wonderful. Just 10 out of 10. All right, so that's our aliens. We're gonna let them dry for a couple of minutes, and while we do that, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna crack this bad boy open. I got this guy on super mega sale on Amazon actually, which was shocking because it just came out. Yeah, I got an Amazon alert. I got this for like 50% off, which kind of blew my mind. It was one of those like X number of units must go kind of thing, right? Like where they have like a certain percentage they have to hit. So if anyone that's not aware, this is the solo play or like co-op play battletech box that just came out in like November. And it gives you a solo and co-op like campaign to play in battletech, which is like everything I love combined. So you get a rule book, kind of runs down setting everything up. This does have a mix of the Alpha Strike box rules and the like advanced Alpha Strike rulebook. So there's kind of some mix in there. All this stuff, this is all cardboard mountain terrain. You think this would be terrible, but I'm going to be super honest. The cardboard terrain from Catalyst has been fantastic. Especially the stuff that came in the Alpha Strike box. Like, I've got my Alpha Strike box behind me, and like, legitimately, that box just packages up and is an amazing product because you can just take it with you. So, like, I went to PAX West 2 years ago. I don't know, man. After COVID, time has no fucking meaning. I think it was 2 years ago, and I took that box with me, and that's like all I took. And I bought a mat while I was there because I didn't want to use the paper one because I was just like, it's an excuse to buy a mat. But like that box was self-contained, had everything in it, just amazing, right? And this is essentially an expansion onto that. So we're gonna get all of our uh like weapon support cards. These are in case you want to use the like battlefield asset stuff. And then we're gonna get a bunch of cards for the different units in this box. What mech is that for? You have parts for some mech. I'm not sure which one. These are our pilot cards so that we can have our own custom pilots, which is pretty cool. So you can like pick a. Let me show these off. They're kind of neat. You can like essentially pick your own pilot, and like as you develop them, they kind of evolve and get different skills and stuff. And there's a couple different like portraits and things for the different pilots, which is pretty cool. That one's really neat. So those are pretty fun. And then these are just the standard Battletech cards. But, you know, we'll open them up. I'm excited to get painted the aliens, but I also want to show all this off, and I should do a good job of it. So, yeah, so these are the standard Battletech cards. And it looks like we get a card for everybody in the box, including the vehicles. Oh, shit, there's a card for elementals. Wow, okay. When the elemental box came out, it actually didn't have a card, so that's really cool. Okay, there's a one for gun emplacement even, which I also don't think is in this box. Yeah, for a couple different gun emplacements. That's cool. It's nice to actually have an elemental card. And then this is the cool shit. So I played with some of these in the alpha for this during the Kickstarter because they put the rules out in the Kickstarter, and these are really cool. So what this is it is a deck of actions, or a deck of like trees for the unit to take, right? And essentially you mix it up and you put it under your guy like that, right? And then every turn you pick whatever that card is, right? So this guy's actions this turn are these, right? He's going to follow this tree. He's going to be aggressive, balanced, cautious, and he's going to have an initiative of 937, right? Next turn, he's got an initiative of 617. Turn after that, he's got an initiative of 797, right? And these change, right? So the conditions in each one of these cards change depending on which card is drawn. So our guy is going to behave a little different every round, which is really fun. It's a really, really cool way to do that because it essentially keeps you from having to either use different trees every time or have it be completely random, right? Because completely random means that they're going to do some really stupid shit. And it's going to be it's going to kind of pull you out of it, right? And man, look at that. You get a lot of those. That's cool. All right, let's see. These are their characters. These are their character cards that get special stuff. And then I believe these are like when your guys are special characters, I believe these are like the actions they get to take. So they get like special abilities. And then there's a bunch of other cards like this guy's fleeing, this guy. Oh, these are cards for special things like fleeing or how to use an indirect attack. Oh, that's cool. Okay. They're like special orders. It's kind of neat. I'm not super sure how those will work. That's cool. And then we get ourselves 7 mechs, including this amazing Chungus. Look at this Chungus. I love this thing. It is so unnecessary, but it is so wonderful. This is just, oh, that is a beautiful mech. We get ourselves a Locust 2 Electric Boogaloo. All Locusts are great boys. I think this is a Howler. Also wonderful small mech. And we've got Rifleman. Or is this a Blackjack? Alright, Locust, Howler. Yeah, it's a Rifleman. Okay. And this thing's a Summoner. The other guy's going to be a Thunderbolt and then Marauder. Okay. So yeah, so there's our Rifleman. There's our Thunderbolt. I think this is like a Thunderbolt 2 or something, because man, it is equipped. Look at those guns under the arms. That's dope. Then we get our Marauder too, who's a big boy. This is a very future-y looking mech. Like this one and this one don't look like they come from the same universe. You know? Oh, just checking out some mechs while we wait for the paint to dry. Because it is rainy AF today, so paint is taking a long time to dry today. So before we do the next step, we are checking out this Scouring Sands box. Alright, so we got a really cool reference sheet. Look at that. That's pretty dope. Yeah, this is the Scouring Sands Battletech Aces box. It's like the solo and co-op expansion for Battletech Alpha Strike. We get a roster. I imagine you can download these online too. It's nice to give you printouts, but I bet you can also just download those online. We get a whole bunch of tokens for waypoints, initiative, different TMMs. These tokens are actually pretty cool because they show you the TMM on the token. I know people make actually dice for these. I don't have any of them, but they make BattleTech specific dice that does this too. That's really neat. And then we get some more cardboard terrain. Looks like rivers and bridges. Okay, here's how they're doing those gun emplacements because they don't come in plastic. So you get tokens for the gun emplacements. And then you get a Spiral Bound rule book, a campaign book. Wow, that's really nice. Dude, it being spiral bound is dope AF. It means you'll be able to like set it out and actually read out the damn thing. Yeah, that's cool. That's super dope. Yeah, it seems pretty great. I mean, I got mine off Amazon for like a super cheap price. It was like half price. Legitimately. I don't know why it was that cheap, but it was. And it's really cool. The decks that I was showing off are the coolest part of this box because they give you not so much random actions, but non-controlled actions. Like they give you things like initiative and stuff like that that normally you have to make up yourself when you're playing with yourself. So that's really nice. But yeah, super cool box. All right, let's get back to our alien buddies. So they all got their black coat on. Um, Now we need to uh, keep going, right? So our next step with these guys is going to be hitting them with an additional color. So in this case, I'm going to be using Cobalt Metal from Warpaint's Fanatics. This is an awesome color. It's like a bluish kind of tinge silver. Like it's very clearly blue, but not like overwhelmingly so. And I think it's really nice. So we're going to take our dry brush and we are going to hit some of these boys. So I'm just getting a little bit on the dry brush. Um, it's going to be a pretty heavy overbrushing, to be honest. So, but that's okay because the next step will help us pull it down. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to hit everything with this. And hit the whole guy. It's going to be darker in some areas. It's going to be a little bit lighter in other areas. We're just going to go ahead and hit our boy here. Yeah. And you can see it's giving him kind of like a silvery kind of gray tinge already, right? And then we'll go ahead and we'll darken that down kind of in the next step. So I need to do 2 of the special characters because I'm kind of splitting the box because this more of the like the silvery tinge is more of like an aliens kind of thing. And I also want to do some to be like Aliens 3 or like Alien Resurrection. So I know most people prefer to not think about those movies, but uh, I do think it's fun to have some difference in our xenomorphs, right? Instead of them all just kind of being the same. So, this kind of really more of an overbrush than a dry brush. Alright, but we're definitely not hitting everything with down in the crevices or anything. Alright, so there's kind of what our guy will look like. And then let's see, what other one do we want to do? This is a pose from Alien Resurrection. This is, I think, supposed to be when the alien jumps out of the water and aliens. So we'll do that one in the aliens color. But yeah, by doing the silver, what we're trying to do is we're trying to mimic the light reflecting off the different bits of the alien and give it some highlights without having to go through and be like, here's 15 colors are black to make it not look like it's black, right? Because that's a slippery slope, and nobody wants to be painting like that. I mean, maybe somebody does, but I certainly don't. So we're trying to gimmick our way into a similar result. Okay. All right. Now we gotta let that dry brushing dry as we move on to the ones from Aliens 3. So same concept for the ones from Aliens 3. Except I'm going to be using death metal because it's my new favorite color ever, and I use it in literally everything these days. Oh, speaking of that, actually, let's see. Yeah, here's our wolf from last time. Quite happy with how he turned out. I did forget to paint the stuff on this shield, so I'll get that when I do the other ones. But yeah, quite happy with how our maned wolf turned out. I really like the blue contrast paint that we used on the legs and the muzzle because it turned into like this nice kind of purple, but it's not like super dark everywhere. You can kind of like see the orange under it, and I think that's really cool looking. So very happy with how he turned out. So yeah, definitely I'll be painting all of the wolf boys like this. So yeah, they'll all be getting done in this fashion. Quite happy with the maned wolf look. All right, let's see. All right, I got my death metal out. I got my dry brush. And we're just gonna go to town. Same kind of plan. Same kind of plan. This one is not going to be as bright, unfortunately, so we're going to have to probably put it on a little heavier. I put the other one on really heavy too, but this one's probably going to be a little bit heavier, and we're gonna let the next step handle it a little bit. So, yeah, bonk. There we go. Yeah, it wasn't a bad New Year. Uh, so for anybody that doesn't know, Hawaii like gets bombed to hell every New Year by people shooting off fireworks. Like it's absolutely insane. Um, we're talking like the air is like just smells like gunpowder, and there's literally ash like collected on your car because there's so many fireworks. But last year somebody blew themselves up, RIP. So the police are like cracking down on it this year. So that means that there actually wasn't that many fireworks. There are still some people who blew themselves up this year, but I don't think anyone died. I think there was a little girl that like blew her hand off or something, but I mean that's still horrible. I'm not saying it's not, but the one last year was like I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 people that got blown up. So yeah, so the police were cracking down on it really bad. So normally I have to stay up mega super late and just kind of like hang out with my dog. Um, this year I didn't really have to do that. I think I was in bed by like 12:30. because the fireworks were over, and they weren't ever that bad. There was like one or two big booms in there, but that was it. So yeah, definitely interesting. The big difference in the quantity of fireworks shot off. Yeah, I hope you guys had a good one as well with less explosions. Yeah, Hawaii really loves fireworks, so I feel like them cracking down on it's kind of like fighting the wind. Like I think it might have momentum now, but it'll come back. Hawaii really loves fireworks. All right, now this step's not going to take as long as the other one. So while these are drying before we move to our next step, I'm going to show you guys some of the 3D printed terrain that has been coming out from my battletech table that I am working on. I really actually like that brown a lot more than I thought I would. But yeah, so let's check out some of the 3D printed terrain. I think I actually have more actually on the printer right now. Just some lobster. Oh, dude, nice. That's pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. We had pizza that we cooked in the oven. Not like fancy pizza, like from a box, which I think was a pretty fitting end for 2026. uh, we started the new year. My husband made fancy steak. Yeah. So death metal is from Warpaint's Fanatic. It's one of their like iron black kind of metal colors. I love it. It is the same color that's the armor on these guys. It's kind of a like iron color, but with like kind of like a green tinge to it. And I think it's wonderful. Absolutely great color. It's the same color I've used for all the like hell stuff that I did. Um, so like these guys that we painted on the channel. So like the satyrs, and then the hellsmiths from Station Forge. Yeah, it's really cool, unique paint. Which, by the way, I was really hyped for this line. Yeah, Station Forge isn't doing this line anymore. Station Forge shut down their fantasy tribe. Yeah, so that blows. However, Highland Miniatures now has an entire line that they're putting out with um there's guys with the Hellsmiths of Hashut. Including actual bull centaurs. Um because the GW ones actually aren't bull centaurs because their hoofs are incorrect and that triggers the fuck out of me. But they have actual bull centaurs, which is really cool. Anyway, let's move on to the BattleTech terrain I said I was going to look at. So these are prints from Corvus Game Terrain that I'm printing on the new printer my husband got me, the H2C from Bamboo Labs, which is gigantic. I'm printing it at 0.4, so like I can make these even better. But they are absolutely fantastic. I am blown away at the quality of this printer. Um, so I've actually been, because it prints so quickly, I actually have a lot done already. So I've been printing out some of these Corvus Game Terrain buildings. Sorry for these ones being clear. I ran out of my black. I ran out of my black filament. And if you wanted to compare it to a mech, right? So these are big buildings, and the nice thing about the Corvus Game Terrain is they have flat tops, so your guys can get on top of them. I was in love with the lazy forger terrain, but then I didn't like the fact my guys couldn't get on top of it. Because there's so much just like stuff on the roofs, like ACs and little radio panels and stuff, right? But I can put mechs up on top of these buildings, and they work just perfectly fine. So yeah, the stuff from Chorus Game Terrain is just wonderful. And then I've got this big one, which kinda is like an apartment or like a mall or maybe like a downtown. I was kind of half debating making my board be like part beach and doing like a Waikiki kind of front to it because I printed this building, which is gigantic, like absolutely gigantic building. Um, and it kind of looks like the Ala Moana, I'm not gonna lie, which is a hotel downtown. So I was kind of thinking about doing like a beachfront kind of thing. But yeah, any layer lines you can see in these will totally go away when I spray paint it. Like they're so fine to the touch that they will just completely disappear. Now, the other part of this, which is also very nice, though I am much less happy with the files, um, are these. These are from who are these from? The people that make Hex Tech. I don't remember what it's called. But they're a series of interlocking roads, which is super fun. They interlock really nicely. They print it out really nicely. Um, but I cannot say nice things about the company offering these files because one, they didn't put anything on sale for the fucking end of year sale. What the hell is that? Who doesn't do that? Everyone puts stuff on sale on the end of year sale. And two, well, there's going to be three. When you buy this file pack, you have to buy it in either hexed or non-hexed. You don't get both files. When you buy these, you get both files. So you can, these come on hex bases. So if you wanted to have a hex table, you could, um, or you can print them like this without the hexes. These you have to buy two different separate sets of files, which is really annoying. So that's super obnoxious. And then the other reason I can't say nice things about this company, even though these files are great, is that when you download these, the file names are too long to actually open in Windows or to extract through the Windows file extractor. So you have to actually copy the files out of the library, rename them all because your printer most likely won't be able to use that long of a file name. So I had to rename like all like 40 different files that came with this thing so my printer could actually print it. But they are very cool files after you get over all of that stuff. They're super cool and include things like parking lots, right? They include 4-lane and 2-lane off splits. They include bends, they include like soft curves, all kinds of stuff. There's also these, even though I printed this file by accident, and they come with like a, I don't know, like a block kind of area. So I'm actually going to reprint this one without that, but it's like a tunnel entrance, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so I'm going to reprint this one. I shouldn't have printed this one, but I did. So yeah. Anyway, they're really cool, super dope files. But cannot say nice things about the company. Because while the files are great, like it as a product sucks. But yeah, so those are all going to go on my new battletech board I'm working on. It's going to be 8x8 squares. I've got the 8x8 squares coming tomorrow from Amazon, and then they're all going to be interchangeable. So it's going to work in a way that at least two of the points have roads going in and out. So there will always be a situation where the roads can line up to something. It should be pretty fun. All right. Next step for our alien bros. Um, so some of these guys, of course, I pick one that's not very. Some of these guys are now very strongly colored, or more so strongly colored for the color that we painted them as. Um, and what we want to do is we want to knock it down a little bit. I guess in the browns we really don't have to. In the silvers you can see it more though. Come on. Come on. Focus on the damn thing. Thank you. In the silvers you can see it more. There's some like weird bright areas there. Right? So we want to knock that down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Gravelord Gray, which is kind of like a light, super dark gray or a light black. And I'm going to hit our models with that, and it should restore some of their black. 5. Now, if I paint this one straight over it, it's just going to become black, essentially. So we're going to need to cut this. Right, and we're going to cut it with the speed paint medium. And yeah, just go to town. Now, if we wanted to keep the a more blue color, we could do that. We could use something like a cultist cloak, like what we used on that wolf's coloring and legs. If we wanted that, we could keep that. But honestly, the blue color is still going to show through a little bit after these dry. So, yeah, we're just going to slather this on. Just trying to make sure we hit it everywhere a little bit, right? Because we do want the blue to show through, but we don't want it to be super intense everywhere. And the areas that we over dry brushed a little bit too much, we want to get those like recesses back a little bit. So if you were really good at dry brushing, you probably wouldn't even need to do this. You could probably just dry brush these with the cobalt and then call it done. But I suck at dry brushing because I always accidentally do over brushing, and where it's like a really heavy dry brush. So you could probably skip this step if you didn't suck at painting like I do. But it's nice. It'll give it a uniform kind of color to tie it all together. And it'll get some of the black back. Now, if you wanted to do different colored aliens, like if you weren't happy with black aliens and you felt you still wanted it to be different colored aliens and be lore accurate, what you actually could do is you actually could do red aliens, because there is a series of alien comic books called Hive Wars that actually feature red aliens, and it's about a war between a hive of like black aliens and a war of red aliens. It's a pretty fun comic line, if I remember right. I probably haven't read it in 20 years, so I don't know if it holds up. But I remember the big panels of the aliens fighting each other being really cool as a kid. And it was cool to see a different colored alien back then too, because that was something I hadn't really seen. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, they also, if I remember, I also had a different design for the queen too. She had like, I don't know, like tentacles or something, if I remember right. That was like part of an explanation why the aliens were different. It was that they like had come from different creatures or something. So it's pretty cool. Alright, so let's see. We got a couple more of these. I just purchased a Frostgrave Cultist 3 and Stargrave Automatons. Dude, the Stargrave Automatons are amazing. I painted a bunch of them on the channel. I'll grab some in a sec. The Cultist 3 I really want to get. They are so cool. Because Cultist 1 and Cultist 2 are absolutely wonderful. We did some Cultist 2 on the channel a while ago. Trying to remember when. I know I used one of them for one of the bodies of the freedom fighters for World War II stuff that I was doing. I don't remember what else I used them for. Maybe Dead Man's Hand? Might have done them for Dead Man's Hand. But yeah, they're absolutely wonderful. I really would like to get Cultist 3. They look so good. Like, so awesome. The automatons. They mix super well with other stuff. So I'd mixed them with, and I did this on the stream too. I painted some of these and kit bashed them. So I mixed them with the zombies from War Games Atlantic. And this is just a standard automaton there. Let's see, there's another standard one. Man, I guess this one has an arm from probably Scavengers or maybe Crew from Stargrave. This guy is a mix of Scavenger and Automaton. Let's see, we've got another zombie. Yeah, this guy's actually has a little 3D printed bit that I printed off of my mini factory. And then we have the clamps. Oh, sorry. Maybe some of these weren't in focus. Apologies if they weren't. But yeah, they're absolutely wonderful. Wonderful. I plan on kit bashing the cultists in the. Oh yeah, 100% you could. The automatons kit bash with literally everything. Right? It depends like what level of automaton monster do you want? Do you want like a mindless resurrected zombie, or do you want a like guy with some robot enhancements? You know what I mean? Like a crazy bounty hunter kind of thing. Uh, Automatons and the zombies from War Games Atlantic were my most versatile kits of last year. Here's another scavenger with an automaton arm, I think. Yeah. Oh, there we go. But yeah, I painted a whole bunch of these up. I actually have more to paint up still. But they're awesome, awesome kits. So there's another full automaton one. And then there's a scavenger automaton guy that I'm really happy with. And then another full automaton guy. And then here's another scavenger automaton guy. I like kind of having them represent like different levels of like sentience automaton zombies. I think that's pretty cool. All right, now before we take a look at our aliens again, I'll be back in 1 second. Also, I have to say it is very nice that this, unlike my New Year's Day stream, I don't have to spend the stream multiple times getting up to deal with Doggo vomiting, because Doggo is doing much nicer, so that's really good. But I just heard these finished printing, so I went to go grab them. So these are some of the lower buildings. So these are some smaller buildings. My printer printed these in like 2 hours, all of them at the same time. So yeah, so they're pretty cool. So should be the Chorus game terrain stuff is just absolutely wonderful. I cannot sing its praises enough. It's going to make such an amazingly cool Battletech table. I'm genuinely really excited about it. The scavenger with the cap is so cool. That's good detail. Yeah, I agree. I'm really happy with it. Um, yeah, the automaton guys are just wonderful. I have some more, but they're not fully painted yet. But yeah, all right. So let's check our aliens out. So this is they're still not fully dry, but there's so the color is going to come through on them a little bit more when they're not as wet. Blend that together a little because that really stands out. Um, but when they're fully dry, they should be kind of more like this. That's how they should end up looking. So it should come through a little bit more when it's fully dry. This watch or this speed paint is going to take a long time to dry though. So that's how they should end up looking. And let's check out. I guess let's look at the other two of these. Yeah, so that guy's coming out a little bit more. He's a little more drier. Come on. Thank you. Yeah, he's a little more drier. And so is this guy. You can start to see the colors coming through a little more as they dry more. So. And then we've got these ones. How did they wind up? Let's see. Okay, they're very. Like the light has to kind of catch them. I'm hoping that color comes through more when they're dry, because like this guy's still sopping wet. He actually has dog hair sticking to him. He's so wet. Okay, that side's a little more dry. But they're a lot darker than I thought they would be. I hadn't actually test modeled these ones like I did the other ones. Yeah, they're a lot darker than I thought they would be. If they don't dry up, it might actually be worth doing a very light dry brush of death metal over them again. That looks kind of good though there, right? Like they're in the face and shoulder, which is really dry. That looks appropriate. So yeah, they gotta dry some more. But being a rainy, overcast day, it's yeah, a thing. But yeah, so we got some cool aliens there from that box of aliens. Um, they're pretty dope. Quite happy with those. And all the battletech stuff is just wonderful. Um, absolutely wonderful. So yeah, so I'm probably gonna pull the mechs out of that box, slap them on a stick, and hopefully get to prime them today. Being so rainy though, I don't know if that's gonna happen. But fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. But I've been streaming for an hour, so I'm gonna call it there. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back sometime next week. I think basically life is starting back to normal like on Monday. So, yeah, the sculpts are really dope. I like them a lot. They really need to dry out a little, and then you can see the color kind of come back in them, and that's kind of what the end result will be. It'll be more like this, which is pretty fun. Um, but yeah, they just need to dry some. But yeah, I think everything's back to normal starting on Monday. So hopefully no more missed streams or crazy lifeness. Hopefully stuff can just carry on and keep on keeping on. So that's what we're gonna try to do. But I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. Thank you guys for watching. Um, Have a good evening. Keep on keeping